Hello. We are going to look at Algebra 1, your first topic in Apex. I am looking at ways to help you with the checkup. Here we go. In quadratics, when we solve quadratics, we have 5 main tools that are really kind of the bread and butter of mathematics. In this chapter, or in this section of your Apex, what you're going to use is square roots and factoring. Most of the problems are on factoring, so I'm going to start this video with that, and then we'll come back in a later video for solving with square roots. Okay, here we go. We have make sure I'm on screen. Perfect. Let's start off with a really basic problem. X squared plus 12x plus 32. Here we go. And we're told to solve the problem. And what that means is we need to find what value or values of x make this true. In other words, what can I plug in for x that will make this whole thing 0? Because we want it equal to 0. And one of the tools is factoring. Which will leave us with something that looks like that. Factoring leaves us with the pieces that are multiplied by each other, which I'll point out later how that's really useful. So, in your previous work, you were given something like this and told to multiply it out to get here. Now we're working backwards. We have standard form, we want factored form. So I need to ask myself, what two values multiply to 32 and add up to 12? So what two numbers multiply to our last bit and add up to our middle bit? Now, these are all positive, so I don't need to worry about negative numbers at this point. I'm just going to start listing some factors here. 1, 32, 2, 16, 4, 8. Okay, these are all numbers that when I multiply them out, I get 32, but I'm interested in these two numbers because when I add 4 and 8, I get the middle bit, 12, which was my goal. Both positive. So x plus 4 and x plus 8. Now if you want to check, just to make sure we didn't have any errors in our math, or we didn't try to pull any voodoo here, let's make sure we didn't just change our problem and we're solving a completely different problem. We have x plus 4 and x plus 8. You can distribute it out, or you can use this box organization. It's the same thing, they're just organized different ways. So x times x squared, 8x, 4x, and 8 times 4 gives me this 32. I just multiplied columns by rows. And I'm left with x squared, 8x, and another 4x. So in total, I have 12 x's and that 32, which is just where I started. So I just made sure we didn't get off track here in our factoring, which can be easy to do. It's very easy to make little mistakes in this work. So here's the reason why factoring is useful. It's this little trick, or this little rule that you've known since elementary school, but it only really became useful in this section of work. It's called the zero product rule. And the zero product rule says anything times 0 is 0. which seemed really obvious in elementary school and not that useful until now. Because now I can say, if this piece is 0, then the whole thing is 0. Or, if this piece is 0, the whole thing is 0. I only need to solve these tiny pieces by themselves. I don't have to figure out the whole thing all in one go. So when I apply that, I can say x plus 4 equals 0, and x plus 8 equals 0. These are two very easy, small equations that we could solve all day. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. Subtract 8 from both sides. And x equals -4. One solution. And x equals -8. Another solution. This is my answer. I do want to show you how you can check your answers on these. I want to take this x as -4. I'm going to plug it way back into the very beginning problem, because this is what it's all about, this problem. -4 squared plus 12x plus 32 equals 0. See if it works. I do want to point out this little negative right here, this is what usually trips students up, is these teeny tiny things. -4 squared. -4 times -4. Two negatives makes a positive. Okay, and here I have -48 plus 32. So I have 48 positive and -48. Everything cancels out. My answer was correct. Let's scoot this up a bit. The same can be done. We can check our other solution here. -8. Again, I'm just taking my x value that I think is correct, and I'm plugging it in. Plugging it into the original equation. Wherever I see an x, that becomes -8. Here we go. This becomes positive 64, negative 96, and there's that positive 32 at the end. So altogether, I have a positive 96 and a negative. So that answer is also correct. I do want to point out that a problem like this doesn't typically take all of this work. I'm just being extra meticulous in going through every tiny step and explaining what rules I'm using in the tools as I go. So don't be overwhelmed when you see your worksheet or you see a larger pile of these types of problems. They really do go faster and become much easier the more you do them. I'm going to show you one more example that's not set up so nicely. I want to look at 3x squared plus 9x minus 27 equals 3. And we're told to solve for this. But it's so much different looking than our original problem that I just worked. That's a little sloppy, but that's definitely a 3. Here we go. Well, the first thing I noticed is this was nice and easy, and I was able to make everything 0 because it was equal to 0. So I'm gonna match. Take this 3, move it over. This is a positive 3. So to move it over, I'm just going to subtract 3 from both sides. 3x squared plus 9x minus 30 equals 0 by subtraction. Okay, now there's this annoying 3 in front of my x squared piece. So the secret of mathematicians is that you can do anything you want to any math problem whenever you want. I want that 3 to go away, so I'm just going to make it go away. You can do that to any problem as long as you do it to all the pieces. Really, it's just about manipulating these different pieces to look how you want. So that goes away, and I'm left with x squared, just what I wanted, plus 3x minus 10 equals 0. I have 0 cookies and I divide them amongst 3 friends. We all have 0 cookies. That's easy remembering there. Okay, there we go. Now this problem looks nice and similar to what we already know. If we can take a new problem and make it look like something we already know, then we're not doing a whole bunch of math from scratch. We're just repeating a process. Work this one out real quick. Let's factor. I want 2 numbers that multiply to 10 and add up to 3. Negative 10. Positive 3. So I have 1, 10. One of those is going to have to be negative. Not sure which. 2, 5. So negative 2, positive 5. And there it is. If I add negative 2 and positive 5, that gives me the positive 3 that I wanted. So x and a negative 2 and x plus 5. Here's my factored form. Next step, break it up. I know that I'm ready for that step because all my pieces are just multiplied now. Now is the 0 product rule. That's the tool I'm using. X equals positive 2, x equals negative 5. There we are. So if I plug in 2 to all of my x's, I will get 3. Or if I plug in negative 5, each spot I see an x, I will also get 3. There we go. It's the magic of factored form.